Hari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Giravaradari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Giravaradari. Yasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Giravaradari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Giravaradari. Yasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jayam Swa Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pavajakacharya Asatar Satasi Simad Abhay Charnarvinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Swa Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pavajakacharya Asatar Satasi Simad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Anantakoti Vaishnavina Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Sri Sri Radhakrishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakund Radhakund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Sri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Sri Mathura Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Me Ki Jai. Yamuna Me Ki Jai. Tulasi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shri Shri Gaurnitai Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Gaur Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, the beautiful story of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Canto 1, Chapter 16, How Parikshit Received the Age of Kali. Text number 17. Tasyaivam Vartamanasya Parvesham Vritim Anvaham Nati Dure Kalishcharyam Yad Asit Tan Naboda Me Tasyaivam Vartamanasya Pravesham Vritim Anvadham Nati Dure Kalishcharyam Yadasitan Nabodame Tasyaivam Vartamanasya Pravesham Vritim Anvaham Nati Dure Kalishcharyam Yadasitan Nabodame Tasyaivam Vartamanasya Pravesham Vritim Anvaham Nati Dure Kalishcharyam Yadasitan Nabodame.
Tasyaivam Vartamanasya Purvesham Vritim Anvaham Nati Dure Kilaschayam Yadasitan Nibodhame.
Tasyaivam Vartamanasya Purvesham Vritim Anvaham Nati Dure Kilaschayam Yadasitam Nibodhame. Maharaj wants to chant.
Tasyaivam Vartamanasya Purvesham Vritim Nati Dure Kilaschayam Yadasitam Nibodhame.
Tasyavam Vartamanasya Purvesham Vritim Anvaham Nati Dure Kilascharyam Yad Asitan Nibodhame.
Tasyaivam Vartamanasya
Tasyaivam Vartamanasya
Purvesham Vritim Anvaham
Pravesham Vritim Anvaham
Nati Dure Kilaschayam
Nati Dure Kalishcharyam
Yadasitan Nibodhame.
Tasyaivam Vartamanasya Purvesham Vritam Anvaham Nati Dure Kilashtaryam Yad Asitan Nibodhame. Tasyaivam
Tasyaivam vartamanasya purvesham vritimanvaham nati dure kilascharyam yad asitan nibodhame.
तस्यैवं वर्तमानस्य पूर्वेषां वृत्तिम् अन्वहम् नातिदूरे किलाश्चर्यम् यदासीत् तन्निबोध मे.
Yasyaivam vartamanasya purvesham vrittamanvaham nati dure kilascharyam yadasitani bodhame.
Tasyaivam vartamanasya purvesham vrittamanvaham nati dure kilascharyam yadasitani bodhame.
Tasyaivam, I'm sorry, Tasya of Maharaj Pariksit. Evam, thus, Vartamanasya, remaining absorbed in such thought, Pravesham of the forefathers, Vritim, good engagement, Anvaham, day after day, Jai Sisi Gurnitai. Na, not Atidure, far off, Kila, verily, Ascharyan, astonishing, Yat, that, Asi, was, Tat, which, Niboda, know it, may, from me. Translation, by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Now he may hear from me of what happened while Maharaj Pariksit was passing his days hearing of the good occupations of his forefathers and being absorbed in thought of them. This first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam is considered to be the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. And the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam is considered to be the smiling face of the Lord. So without understanding the first 9 cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam, one will not fully appreciate Krishna's Leela in Vrindavan, although one may understand it superficially, but to really understand the 10th canto, one should first understand Srimad Bhagavad Gita. One should know how great Krishna is, because without understanding how great Krishna is, one will not fully appreciate the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, which describes Krishna's Vrindavan Leela. Maharaj Pariksit was the emperor of the world, consisting of 7 continents, and his forefathers were also emperors of the world, and their capital was in Hastinapur, which is now New Delhi, India. And Maharaj Pariksit passed his days hearing and chanting about the Lord. This is the symptom of a Mahatma. Mahatmas take pleasure in hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord. And Maharaj Parikit's forefathers, they were also Mahatmas. They were great souls because they engaged fully in the pure devotional service of Krishna. They were all Krishna bhaktas. So therefore, their activities are worth hearing about. It is not worth hearing about the activities of the modern politicians because their forefathers are not so great. They're not Mahatmas. But by hearing about the activities of Maharaj Pariksit and his forefathers is as good as hearing about Vishnu or Krishna, because their activities are as much transcendental as Lord Krishna's. And this is Sutta Goswami speaking to the sages of Naimisharanya. And the translation is, now you may hear from me. Me means Sutta Goswami. One has to hear Bhagavatam from the person Bhagavatam. It's like we're hearing Bhagavatam from Sutta Goswami. We're hearing Bhagavatam from Srila Prabhupada, Dhanavir Goswami. These are walking Srimad Bhagavatams. This is the proper authority to receive this transcendental subject matter. And there's no purport, so I'll go on to text 18. Dharma padakina charan vachayam ibalabhyagam pachati smasu vadanam vatsam eva mataram. Dharma means the personality of religious principles. Pada means leg. Ekina, on one only. Charan, wandering. Vachayam, overtaken by the shadow of grief. Upalabhya, having met. Gam, the cow. Prachati, asking, small, with. Asru vadanam, with tears on the face. Vatsam, one who has lost her offspring. Eva, like. Mataram, the mother. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The personality of religious principles, Dharma, was wandering about in the form of a bull, and he met the personality of earth in the form of a cow, who appeared to grieve like a mother who had lost her child. She had tears in her eyes, and the beauty of her body was lost. Thus Dharma questioned the earth as follows. Purport. The bull is the emblem of the moral principle, and the cow is the representative of the earth. When the bull and the cow are in the joyful mood, it is to be understood that the people of the world are also in the joyful mood. The reason is that the bull helps production of grains in the agricultural field, and the cow delivers milk, the miracle of aggregate food values. The human society, therefore, maintains these two important animals very carefully so that they can wander everywhere in cheerfulness. But at the present moment, in this age of Kali, both the bull and the cow are now being slaughtered and eaten up as foodstuff by a class of men who do not know the Brahminical culture. The bull and the cow can be protected for the good of all human society simply by the spreading of Brahminical culture as the topmost perfection of all cultural affairs. By advancement of such culture, the morale of society is properly maintained, and so peace and prosperity are also attained without extraneous effort. When Brahminical culture deteriorates, the cow and the bull are mistreated, and resultant actions are prominent by the following symptoms. So this is a very interesting verse. Dharma means the codes given by God. Dharma, or religious principles, are personified by the bull. And the earth is personified by the cow. And the bull is considered the father of mankind, and the cow is considered our mother. Because the bull works hard tilling the fields and doing other agricultural work and doing transportation, working hard for the benefit of mankind. And the cow produces the most valuable foodstuff, milk. Milk is considered liquid religiosity. By drinking milk, hot milk, one can develop finer tissues in the brain so that one can understand what is God. One can understand that I'm not this material body, I'm spirit soul, part and parcel of God or Krishna. So the two most important animals are the cow and bull. And Krishna's own planet is called Goloka Vrindavan. Goloka means the planet of the cows. This is in the spiritual world. And the cows and bulls in this material world, they're descendants of Sarabi cows in the spiritual world. In Goloka Vrindavan, one could get as much milk as one likes at any time that one likes. One could get unlimited milk from Sarabi cows. So when the cows and bulls are not protected, there follows all kinds of misfortune on the earth, because the cow, being the personification of the earth, when she's in a cheerful mood, when she's protected for her whole life, then the earth is also in a cheerful mood. And same with the bull. When the bull is protected, then religious principles are also protected. And this is possible by spreading of Sanatana Dharma, spreading of Brahminical culture. So we should not just be satisfied with being religious ourselves, but we should try for the benefit of the whole earth. And the Srimad Bhagavatam gives information how the whole earth can be satisfied. And without understanding these principles of Srimad Bhagavatam, there can be no peace and prosperity on the earth. Because first, the cow and bull have to be satisfied, then there can be peace and prosperity. Otherwise, it's simply not possible. And in the modern age, in Kali Yuga, there's great wars. And in the history of America, American history is the history of one war after another. In the colonial period, there was the French and Indian War. That was followed by the Revolutionary War, the War of 1812, then the Great American Civil War, then World War I, World War II, Vietnam, Korean War, the Afghanistan War is going on for 20 years. And this, the history of America is very violent. And now they're preparing for World War III. They're amassing nuclear weapons. On the surface of the earth today, there are 13,500 nuclear warheads. And at any time, by some misunderstanding, some demoniac leader can press a button and start World War III. And the major portion of 90% of the nuclear weapons are in two countries. Russia has the most, followed by the USA. So these nuclear weapons were created for demoniac purpose. They weren't meant for the peace and prosperity of the world. Due to godlessness, these things are created in human society. And one of my first services when I joined the Krishna consciousness movement in 1973, I was trained to take care of the bulls, and we were using the bulls. The castrated bulls are called oxen. We're using oxen for farm work. I was hauling cow dung to the fields for fertilizer, and also I was making a boga run. The brahmacharis were living at Vrindavan Farm. They moved to Vrindavan Farm in the winter of 1973, and I was in charge of bringing the aboga up a 2-mile trail through the forest, because this trail was not passable by cars. So the ox cart was a perfect transportation for this service. And I learned to appreciate the value of bulls, because the bulls can travel anywhere in places where four-wheel drive vehicles cannot go. The bulls could walk through swamps. They could cross rivers. In the wintertime, they could travel through a snowdrift that's 6 or 7 feet tall. And in the wintertime, sometimes the only thing you could see of the oxen were their horns, because they'd be walking through the snow, completely buried in the snow. And the cow and bull are considered the most offenseless creatures, because even the cow and urine of the cow and bull are valuable. In New Vrindavan, we used to make incense from dried cow dung, and it was very fragrant incense. And in the years 1990, 91, I was on a Padayatra. There's a Padayatra festival started in Boston. Devotees walked from Boston to Miami, and in Vaishnava dress and tilak, and they were chanting Hare Krishna and distributing Prabhupada's books and distributing prasadam, even in major cities like Boston, New York, Philadelphia, Washington, D.C. And for this Padayatra festival, I was the ox cart driver. And in the great cities of America, the police were very helpful, because the police would protect the devotees as they were passing through the city, and they would accompany the devotees with a motorcade of police cars. So we got much help from the American policemen. And sometimes we would stop at night at a motel that was owned by Gujarati, because in America, mostly motels are owned by Indians, mostly Gujaratis, and the Gujaratis are very charitable to Krishna devotees. And sometimes the motel owner would feed the devotees and also give us the donations. And sometimes farmers would also donate big bags of grain to feed the oxen. And the oxen were satisfied simply by eating grass. And also in the history of Kansas City, Missouri, in the 19th century, Kansas City was the gateway to the West, and there were 3 trails leading from Kansas City: the California Trail, the Oregon Trail, and the Santa Fe Trail. And this migration to the West was made possible by the bulls, by the oxen. And you can see old photographs in Kansas City. There are hundreds of oxen in the streets. And there was a great freight company in Kansas City where this freight company employed thousands of oxen. So in the 19th century, they were the freight carriers, and they would supply the western forts, and they would supply settlements in California and Oregon and Santa Fe, New Mexico. So the cows and bulls are very valuable. And when the tractor was invented, this kind of put the bulls out of service, And this is kind of a misfortune because for every tractor, it makes 10 farm workers unemployed. And when the men on the farms are unemployed, they go to the cities and factories to seek work. And by working in the factories, they tend to become more demoniac. They lose their God consciousness. Are there any comments or questions? Yes, Dr. Jacob.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thanks for your nice class. I was just going to comment on the last thing you said. Once the men enter the factory, they don't realize the connection we have with the land, and that the land's connection with God. And so they don't see that the land's providing for us anymore. They only see that the factory is providing for us. And so they have the mentality that there's no more God. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Working with the bulls is very nice because there's no pollution and they're gentle animals. And when the bulls are not used for service, when the bulls are not used for something constructive, they become very dangerous and destructive animals. And in the Kali Yuga, when the bulls are not when the bulls are replaced by tractors, the bulls become very dangerous. Every year, farmers are killed by their own bulls. And in West Virginia, the topography was ideal for working bulls because the topography is very hilly, and some of the hills are quite steep. And when tractors are used on those hills, sometimes the tractors roll over and kill the driver, crush the driver by the falling tractors. So the use of bulls is more safe in places like West Virginia than tractors. And when we were learning to work the bulls in New Vrindavan, some of the old-time neighboring farmers used to come and give us advice on how to work the bulls, because they had experience when they were boys of working with oxen, doing farm work. And some of our neighbor farmers used to come to the Sunday feast every Sunday and participate in the temple program also. Any more comments or question? Dr. Gio.
Yeah, I was just wondering, because you had said earlier in the class that we need to understand Bhagavatam in order to, I can't remember exactly, but you were saying that they're walking Bhagavatams, like Maharaj and Prabhupada. So I was just wondering, how can we understand Bhagavatam? You said that it's essential to understand Bhagavatam. Should we take tests and then refresh our mind every so often, or should we take notes and read those notes, or what do you think we should do?
Yes, we should study each and every word of Srimad Bhagavatam. It's so important, because if one understands just one sloka of Srimad Bhagavatam, one can attain the highest perfection and go back home, back to Godhead. And so Srila Prabhupada told us that the bulls who were employed in the Padayatra India, that these bulls were carrying the deities, the Gaur Nitai, all over India in the Padayatra. And Prabhupada said that after leaving their bodies, these bulls would go back home, back to Godhead because of their service to Sri Sri Gaur Nitai. They're carrying Gaur Nitai all over India. It's time for the Sankirtan Festival. All glories to His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada.
Jai Srila Prabhupada. Okay, we'll read the scores now. We just got one more in just now, so we'll add it real quick.